Hello everyone! We're closing in on Halloween, and as usual, I wanted to talk to you guys about a creature that haunted literature and fantasy for a very long time and still haunts our popular culture today: Wraiths. We will explore together their origins and impact in history, as well as their representation in modern pop culture. We usually trace back the origins of Wraiths, as we know them today, back to the early Scottish folktales and are one of the many subgroups of ghosts, such as poltergeists, spectres, and phantoms. Unlike some spirits who are known to be benevolent and help the living, wraiths are known to be 100% pure evil, who take pleasure in the suffering and misfortune of others. We trace back the origins of the word wraith all the way back to the early 16th century, specifically in 1513 in a translation of Virgil's Aeneid by the Scottish bishop Gavin Douglas, where he uses the word to refer to an apparition of both the living and the dead. Ultimately, wraith is a Scottish word that refers to ghosts and apparitions in general. In medieval culture, wraiths and revenants were seen as malevolent forces that copied the appearance of the living and haunted and tormented them until the very end. Those who were haunted by these creatures either went completely insane or ended up killing themselves. These beliefs of corpses coming back to life was very common in parts of medieval Europe at the time, notably in England, France, Iceland, and some parts of Germany. In Icelandic culture, for example, there's even a specific word that describes wraiths and revenants: draugr. For some reason, reports of wraiths and revenants are far less common in Europe compared to Iceland, but there are still some texts that indicate that it wasn't uncommon for people to talk about the dead coming back to life. In France, for example, the Bishop of Paris, Guillaume d'Auvergne, refers to many tales he had heard of certain dead men who came back from the other world to kill living men, and talk about how widespread the belief was. Then, when we refer to the physical description of these creatures, well, it can vary quite a lot due to the centuries of stories and tales about them, each having their own little unique physical feature and details that separate them from one another. These stories about revenants, phantoms, and wraiths were usually passed down orally through the years, and depending on who told the story, things could change drastically, whether it be about the physical attributes of these creatures, or their origins, or simply the tales surrounding them. But usually they are presented as skeletal figures draped in long, ragged black cloaks that covered their entire body. According to old legends, wraiths are commonly found in dark and gloomy places, such as graveyards, boneyards, dungeons, and abandoned castles, to name only a few. Some say that they are the personification of humans that died while having unfinished business on Earth. Others think that they might be the result of a sorcerer or sorceress that tried in vain through some sort of spell or ritual to extend their lives but failed miserably, creating an evil, restless, and vengeful spirit instead. Nowadays, usually when we hear about wraiths, we immediately have the image of a tall, black-cloaked creature that pops in our head, and that's because the idea of wraiths as we know them today is heavily influenced by the work of J.R.R. Tolkien. The ring wraiths, or as he calls them, Nazguls, were the terrifying ring servants of the Dark Lord Sauron in The Lord of the Rings, and it even influenced others, such as J.K. Rowling's Dementors, whose appearance and behavior also resembles wraiths quite a lot. Over time, they became quite popular in modern literature, cinema, and even TV series, such as the wraiths represented in the show Supernatural. So this concludes today's video. Hopefully you all learned a thing or two about wraiths, and of course I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you wish to see more videos like this one, do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel for more content and leave a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and see you all next time.